once was a place enchanting your darkest desires. There once was a road that crossed all your tranquility, a fight for true love, a fall for timeless lust, secrets of the labyrinth, destroyed bonds at the glance in a mirror, hearts closed, thorns in prison, a spirit hardened. Rise up, warrior, confess your truth. Join us inside Black Garden. All right, good morning, and welcome to the Creative Dominion podcast with your host, Darklaw. And we have a very special guest, y'all, for the Black Garden series. This is episode 11. We have Miss Kelly Rattanee out of Andorra. And so a lot of us don't know where that is at all. So please welcome Kelly. Why don't you tell yourself a little bit and enjoy intervening with the audience on your expertise in what Andorra is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you for having me. And to all those listening and watching, thank you for taking the time out of your day to be here. I will be very honest with you. About a month ago, I actually also didn't know where Andorra was. It is a very tiny country, much like Monaco. And it's sandwiched between Spain and France. So very, very beautiful, very, very small. For those of you that have the time, do look it up on Google Maps, and then you can actually see the sides of it, especially those of us that are from North America. I'm originally from Canada, much like America. It's a huge landmass, and being as a small country is quite interesting. Prior to arriving here, I was in Thailand off and on for about 10 years, born and raised in Canada. So I am here because of quality of life, nothing to do with anything else really. And I am a dating and relationship coach, as well as very interesting side note, unrelated to dating and relationships at all, is a sports mindset coach for professional athletes. So it's kind of a two-pronged career, if you will. And yeah, I work mostly online, except for here in Andorra, I do see professional football players. However, my relationship to dating and coaching is done predominantly online.
Awesome. And so again, welcome Kelly from New Andorra. You can call it New, just like Borderlands, right? The New Andorra. The
You
new
can.
the
You
new
can.
Andorra. The new Andorra Kelly. So welcome.
Thank
And
you,
so
sir.
right. And so how I start every episode again, everything that's said here today may not resonate with you, but I hope you can take just one thing. I always encourage the audience, viewers and listeners alike to look in the mirror and kind of look in your own life as we're speaking through different topics and through a little bit of Kelly's personal background and story. And just remember that, your voice matters, your story matters. Not everybody goes through the same things, but we all can find recognizance and similarities within our stories. And so I just encourage each and every one of you listening and viewing here today to take one thing and resonate with it and apply it daily to your life, to become the best version of yourself and to create the dominion of your own mind. And so again, the Black Garden series will be launching September 2024. And again, go ahead and buckle up, fasten your seats, and welcome inside Black Garden with Kelly out of Andorra. And so with that being said, Kelly, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about how you got into the dating and coaching profession?
Yeah, thank you so much. And I got into it it was like a natural transition. I actually used to be a strength and conditioning coach, and I dealt with a lot of professional athletes. And one of the things that came up quite a bit in conversation was relationship challenges and how that affected their sport. And so It just kind of came out naturally. Like it just sort of evolved. And when I was pregnant with my daughter, I have two children, a 7-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. So it's a busy household. And I had to step back from the actual physical aspects of training just because like logistics, having a belly in the way is it makes it challenging to demonstrate things. So we moved my role from strength and conditioning more to mindset coaching. And what was really, really apparent was effect that relationships have on the rest of our lives. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a romantic relationship. It can be a relationship between mother and father, brother and brother, family, friends, certainly partners, romantic partners, and also the relationship that we have to the idea of God or the relationship that we have to ourselves. And so it just organically moved in that direction. And then, of course, once all of us experienced COVID, we had no gyms to train in. So it became only online and it became completely because those were talk therapy sessions. And a lot of focus was on relationships because of the obvious strain of being at home for so long. And so I don't have to go into it. Of course, we all are there together. So it evolved into that naturally. And then from there, I just really enjoyed it. So I continued with it. And I never went back to the strength and conditioning. I just continued with relationships and dating, focusing on intimacy and the relationship that we have to our idea of God and the relationship that we have to ourselves. So it's been a really lovely evolution and it's definitely changed a lot, I would say, in the last particularly like year and a half around how people interact with each other and so on and so forth. So I feel like it's a field that whether you're in it professionally or you're in the dating scene or you're in a relationship to yourself, is there's always this continual opportunity for learning about ourselves, learning about others, and expanding the good stuff in our relationships and learning how to let go of some of the things that we don't really want to be carrying around with us anymore.
Awesome, awesome. So I love the way, you interacted within your journey. And again, I want to encourage the audience. Um, you have to start somewhere. So with your story, what you said was, you went from strength and conditioning to the mindset. And sometimes in life, you probably thought, you'd be in strength and conditioning forever or as long as you could, right? But sometimes, whether you believe in God or not, sometimes something that you think you'll be doing is actually not your true calling. And even though you probably was like, oh man, I really, want to go back to strength and conditioning or, what am I going to do now? You found your true calling within the mindset and coaching. And, it's funny how spirituality and all that stuff works when you kind of transition within life, right? And
Yes,
so,
it
so you
is.
have a really interesting niche because again, you work with professional athletes, and I don't know who all is viewing or listening that follows athletics and sports, but professional athletes make a lot of money. They
They
make a
do.
lot of money, and you're probably asking. I know I asked. I'm a big football, soccer, basketball person. I just love sports as well. And I always asked, well, growing up, I always wanted to be in the NFL. And I was like, how, the professional athletes, they make so much money, they can probably get any woman they want and be happily married and, have that fancy mansion and just have it all together. And that's not always the case. And so I'm definitely excited to be inside the Black Garden with you and dive deep into the mindset behind looking wise, from the visual. When you see a professional athlete, you're like, you're getting autographs, especially if you're really good at your profession, like your LeBrons, your
Mhm.
Mbappe's, your Messi's, etc. You would think that they have it going on, they can get any woman they want. Look at them, they're like a mega star. And so I'm definitely excited to dive deep into that mindset. So first thing I want to ask, because I'm pretty sure all the viewers and listeners want to know, what is the most common trend you've seen from when you're working with professional athletes on the mindset?
I think if I'm going to say the most common trend, it's this idea of is it okay for me to have all of this? Is it okay that I'm this successful? Is it okay that I'm this focused? It's that feeling of, is someone going to be mad at me because I succeed? Am I going to be able to handle that level of success? And I don't think that's just an athlete overall. Like we have this desire to fit in, and this desire not to stand out overly. And the reality of success, whatever success means to anybody, is that you will stand out because you've risen above what is normal. And so you will stand out. And anytime that we stand out, even if it's for something really, really positive, there's always that fear of like, oh, well, who's gonna hate on me because of this? Who's gonna talk shit, pardon my language? Like, but who's gonna be mad and who's gonna try and take this away? And I think that for all people, including professional athletes, is this idea of like, is it okay? Is it okay that I surpassed my parents in the realms of success? Is it okay that I surpassed some of my friends? Is it okay that I'm doing better than the guy that, got straight A's during high school and I was kind of just coasting by, you know? And so it's really about allowing for ourselves to receive, right? Everyone. It's this allowance of receiving without hitting on that, I hate to sound very cliche, but that glass ceiling that exists for all of us. It's like, well, how do we get past this feeling of maybe feeling guilty or feeling scared that, we're going to fail? And how do we move through that in order to really live a fulfilled life, regardless of whether you're a professional athlete or you work for, we all have this cap, on what we allow ourselves to experience in terms of joy, in terms of success, in terms of good health. And so I think that for all of us, to say it is an allowance, it's a matter of receiving. It's being able to receive without feeling guilty about things.
I love that. I love that. And the question that comes to mind that I want the audience to ask when they look in the mirror, I want all the audience to look in the mirror and ask yourself two questions. First question I want you to ask yourself is, why are you limiting yourself? And the second question I want to ask you is, are they better than you or do you just think they're better than you? And I want that to slowly marinate within the mindsets of the audience, because a lot of the times we set our potential and we set our progressions on our environment. For example, if none of my family went to college, then that's the bar. Like, you have to get into college. But as I always speak on, is focusing on your assignment. Your assignment might be to get a PhD, but your environment says just getting to in the door is the bar. And you have to ask yourself, within your own mindset, again, it all ends and begins with you. You have to determine, like, is that the bar, or can I continue to raise my bar? And to, like you said, not feeling the shame of the approval. The fear of disapproval is real in today's society. What am I, again, like you said, what are my friends going to think of me if I, get a PhD and they only have a bachelor's or associates or don't even go to college? Can I even hang out with those people if they don't have a PhD? Am I, are they beneath me in a way? Am I thinking that in my mindset of, oh, they're beneath me, so I can't, you know, associate with people that are not of the same level? And, that scares not only unsuccessful or not successful people, but it also scares those that are successful, both sides, because it's like, the people that don't have that PhD, they look up to the PhD, like, wow, you have a PhD. And then that's where that, envy and jealousy and strife, all that stuff comes from. Again, pride, Cain killed Abel, pride comes before the fall of man. So that's where all that, those intricacies get into fruition. And I just love that you said that, because again, like, a lot of times we just think that, someone with a lot of money or a lot of fame when it comes to athletics is just, or just in general, a lot of fame or on TV or a lot of the fortune and fame. We just think that they're just the perfect being, right? They don't go through stress. They don't go through anxiety. Um, they don't look in the mirror and think they're unwanted or not good enough. We just think that, oh, well, they have all that stuff, and the society tells them, social media tells them they have it all going on, that they're perfect.
Mm,
And so we have to learn how to separate perspective from reality.
absolutely. Very well said.
And so, what are some common, not even necessarily common, but what are some the most like ridiculous things you've heard in regards to athletes and dating mindset that you've throughout your profession, kind of debunked, like something like or rumors or kind of stereotypes?
I think you said it really well, is the stereotype is like, well, you're rich and famous, so therefore it must not be a problem to meet women or date or have a healthy and happy marriage. And I think that it's important to remember that what we're shown in public is very carefully curated. Everything is very carefully curated, from where people go, where people stay, where people eat, etc. And I think one of the challenges that is really, really prominent is that when you're dealing with professional athletes, but also people of a certain level of financial status, is this person with me because they really like me, or is it something more, or is it simply because of money? And the reality is, it's probably a bit of both. And not to sound crass or anything like that, but you can't become a person of fame and a person of fortune without attracting certain people that want certain things from you. And I think one of the hardest things, particularly, like, a lot of male athletes that are men, like, a lot of the athletes that I work with are men, and a lot of it comes down to kind of having to be smart in their business of their sport, right? So when they move into relationships or when they're having relationship issues, I think one of the biggest challenges that they face that people may not realize is that the relationship issue is never just between the couple. There's always a lawyer, there's always a PR person, there's always a therapist or a coach. Like, it never really exists just between two people. Whereas if you are, you're an accountant and you're married to a teacher and you guys are having problems, hopefully you reach out to a therapist or a coach. However, probably there's not going to be like a huge legal thing that has to happen before each conversation. So I think that that's really straining on relationships when you're looking at people with a lot of money, is that it's never just about the relationship. There's always this other stuff tiled into it. And that sounds a bit like, oh, poor guy, like that must be so hard. However, I think the challenges is that when we talk about intimacy and we talk about vulnerability, and I don't necessarily mean sexual intimacy because that part is pretty straightforward realistically. When we're looking at intimacy, the ability to know ourselves and to truly know another person, it can be really, really difficult to feel as if someone really knows you or you really know their intentions when there's so much money involved. And when there's pictures of you in the paper with your partner, or there's, TikTok videos of you and your partner all over the place, right? So the things that people who are not in the limelight take for granted, like privacy, being able to have an argument that doesn't blow up all over social media, those are things that are really, in my opinion, really, really sacred. And I can assure you that celebrities and athletes would pay a good amount of money to keep most of their business out of other people's business, if that makes sense. So I think the biggest conception is like, you're so lucky, it must be so easy for you. And easy and valuable are not necessarily the same thing, right? Something that comes really, really easily, of course, that if you're a wealthy man or a man of certain substance or social standing, it's pretty easy for you to pull a girl, like, not to be unkind, realistically, and so that's not the hard part. The hard part is being able to differentiate between a woman who is going to add value into your life or a woman who's going to create a lot of problems for you. And I think that that can be a real challenge. I also think that when you're in that kind of a situation, like I said before, if you and your partner, let's say, are having some disagreement or there's been some infidelity, it's not just you and your partner anymore. It's lawyers, it's contracts, it's a lot of things that are very unsexy and very unromantic and really, really very professional and businesslike. So in a lot of ways, relationships in that sphere take on a bit of a business model feeling versus kind of like, oh, well, we met and we fell in love and we don't have to worry about anything and we don't have to think about anything. And you mentioned while you were speaking about the power of social media, right? Like, what we see is carefully, carefully thought out, carefully, carefully crafted, right? To ensure that the best images are being brought forward, the most loving images are being brought forward. That's not always the case. Loneliness exists in all economic classes, all professions, all races, all genders. And so, what glitters isn't always gold. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest misconceptions, as you mentioned, is like, oh, well, you're rich and famous, so everything therefore must be so easy for you. And just like anybody else, there's always going to be something that triggers, there's always going to be something to work through. There's always going to be something that is calling to you or pulling you or distracting you. And it's up to the individual, both individuals in a relationship, to hold on to their anchors, as it is for all of us.
Awesome, awesome. I love that you said that. And um, question on, I feel like as we were going through the beginning part of that is, I feel like people that if we don't have a lot of money, so society in general, they make having money the negation of all problems or issues. Like, oh well, hey, I'm depressed. Well, you're rich, so you can't be depressed. Or basically, like the money negates or the fame negates being human. And so, what is your take on that aspect?
Yeah, I really love that, and I really agree with you. I think there's interesting fascination with other people's lives, and out of that is, and this is said as a lot of love, and not at all in a sense of disrespect, but you really owe it to yourself to cultivate a life that you love and appreciate. As you mentioned before, when you look around your environment, it might not be easy to do that, right? It might not be easy to do that, but that's like the power of your mind. Like you have so much power in here and in here to be able to cultivate something different. And I think that we get really invested in other people's lives because there's something in our life that we feel we have done or we wish to do or we wish to have done or all of this. And I think anytime you find yourself, this is kind of going on a bit of a side trail here, so apologies, but I think anytime you find yourself in a situation where you feel like God, this can't be my life or whatever it is just an invitation for you to like, okay, well then what could be your life? Like if this isn't it right now, regardless of the circumstances, and I say that with a lot of respect, and what could be different? What could you do that's slightly different today? And I think that you're right in saying we sort of objectify, not on purpose. I don't think it's on purpose. We objectify famous people and wealthy people, and we kind of just make them objects of conversation. We know that money solves a good portion of problems. I'm certainly not going to pretend that money is not helpful. Money is very helpful. However, it doesn't take away feelings of inadequacy. It does not take away childhood trauma. It doesn't take away racism, sexism. Money does not take away loneliness. Money actually cannot buy love, fact of life. It can do a lot of things for you, but it doesn't take away the reality that you're an active participant in a life that is at times challenging, regardless of how much money you have or do not have.
I always say it's the pursuit of a lot of people. We search for things we can't have, right? Or we cling to things we can't have. It's kind of like that false idolhood, right? It's like, well, I can't dunk a basketball, so I love LeBron James because he could dunk a basketball really well, and I'm gonna follow his life. And we kind of nitpick, and we hold that, like you said, we objectify them, and we hold them more accountable than we hold ourselves accountable to our life. It's like, oh,
Um,
I'm waiting for who's gonna have an affair,
that's it.
who's gonna pout and cry when they lose a game. We kind of like hunt and hunt. There's so many like news and ESPN and articles and blogs about athlete gets mad at referee or throws something at the crowd or says something to his teammate, and we're just searching to like degrade and de-objectify the
Mm,
same people we object.
yeah, it's a really interesting point, and I think that there's a fine line, and this is something for everyone to observe in themselves. It's admirable to admire someone who's a great athlete, and it takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of dedication. However, we owe it to ourselves and a courtesy to them, whether you ever get to meet that athlete in person and have that autograph or whatever it is, but you owe it to them to let them do their job and then let them have their life. Like you go to work or you have your career, you have your business, you are a stay-at-home mom, you're raising your children. Like you don't want somebody to know your business all the time, right? So admiring someone because they're great athletes. Like you look at the Olympics as a really good example, actually, because these are like the top of the top athletes. And unless they're really present on social media, most of them you've never heard of before. Like I've never heard of them before. The guy who wins gold in this thing, you've never heard of him before. You have to Google him. He probably maybe doesn't have an Instagram. So you don't have the same sort of like familiar feeling with them. You can admire that individual in their sport and be like, wow, you're super talented and you've obviously worked very hard to get here. But you might not know all the stuff in their personal life that's going on. And I feel like because of social, I have like a love-hate relationship with social media. It's that you can admire that athlete and know that he's a good athlete without having to know everything about his or her life. You know, if you think about, I don't know, I'm 42, so me growing up, it was like, you know, the Mike Tysons, the Michael Jordans of the world. You know what I mean? Really, like unless they made headlines, the Mike Tyson this famous for obviously great fighter, but maybe had a few life choices that were not amazing. But like, you know, Michael Jordan, there was no Instagram following him, following him around, knowing what he eats for breakfast. So we create this interesting false intimacy, which people probably don't know. And you're correct in saying that the more we kind of see the things that we haven't done in our lives that we admire in others, the more opportunity for us to find fault. Right. And like anything, like once you find fault, it's like unraveling a sweater and you're just waiting for more of the string to unravel. And so this is an indication for everyone listening and watching is it's totally, totally amazing to respect someone and admire them for the hard work that they put into their craft, whatever that is. And do yourself a huge favor and don't worry about the rest of their life because it doesn't really affect you. Much like they're not worried about your life because it doesn't affect them. Right? Enjoy their athletic performance, enjoy the charitable things that they do or what have you. And then for the rest of it, it's like get really interested in pursuing the business of you.
Perfectly said. Again, it all ends and begins in you. You owe you. You said it earlier. You owe you. And again, like you said, the most respectful way is you can't expect someone else to care about your life more than you care about your own.
That's it. Amen.
Same thing with your goals, ambitions, mindset. A lot of times in society, we have like a victim mindset of, oh, woe is me, or you see it at work, you see it, out at Kroger, that guy going off because the grocery line's too long. You can't, I've always been told about mentors in the past that you only can control two things, your actions and your attitude. If it's something that you can't be affected by those two things, then just let it go.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. Wise words.
Right. And so shifting gears, how is your personal, because I know a lot of viewers and listeners are out there, it's like, what defines a coach? Or I know we see basketball coach. I know we're talking athletics or like sports coach. But how has your personal dating life and your personal journey guided you throughout your coaching and expert experience?
Well, let's see, how do I answer that? I now am much more particular and more deliberate about how I move forward with men, simply because I'm divorced, I'm a single mother. I have a lot of things riding on me responsibility wise that I'm grateful for. And for me, I'm not looking for someone to solve my problems. I'm not looking for someone to fulfill me anymore, right? Probably at one point in time in my life, absolutely, absolutely. You get caught up in romance, television, you get caught up in stories about the nice shining army, which I think especially for women, no offense to men also, but a lot of our conditioning as young girls is like, you just be pretty. This great man is going to come along. He's going to rescue you. He's going to save everything. You're going to have this nice house with the white picket fence and the dog and the two kids and the whatever Hyundai something in the driveway, and the reality is that for me, I had to take an honest look at what my expectations were from men, what my expectations are like for myself to be able to give to someone in a relationship. And for me, it also comes down to Are you going to love me? Maybe not as much as God. Like, I don't know if that's quite possible, but are you going to aim for that? And are you going to return me back to God better than the way that you found me? And if not, then that's fine. That's okay. Like, that's fine. However, then I'm not going to invest my time, energy, physical intimacy, or emotional intimacy into someone who isn't going to uplift me in my life. And again, that's not about the knight in shining armor. It's simply about, like, are you a man of your word? Are you a man of great integrity? Are you a man that can hold a container around a life to keep it safe, to keep it protected, to keep it moving in the correct direction? Or are you here just to ask fun? And if that's great, like, I'm sure for you, but I'm not that girl. Right? Like I said, I've been that girl lots, and there's nothing wrong with that girl. And ladies, if you are the fun girl right now, that's okay. However, anytime that you let someone kind of dishonor you, or you dishonor yourself in exchange for that approval piece that we were kind of talking about, right? Like, wanting to feel like you fit in, wanting to feel blessed, wanting to feel important, it takes you away from yourself. It does. It takes you away from yourself. And then for me, I want to ensure that I'm following my calling. I want to ensure that I can feel proud of the woman that I am at the end of the day. It doesn't mean that I'm perfect. I am certainly none of those things. I occasionally lose my temper. I occasionally get too much champagne. La 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 la. I'm having this human experience also. And my past is very colorful and very rocky, and I had to really hone in on self-worth. And I think that I am much more deliberate and much more mindful about the energy that a man brings into my life, conversation, also the way that he views women, the way that he speaks about women, which are things that, to be honest with you, like, maybe 10 years ago, I wouldn't have thought about. However, as I've moved through this and, built on myself, reclaimed myself, and started betting on myself more, started really putting that self-belief in, and working on that self-worth, and creating my life more intentionally rather than just letting my life happen to me. It's much more intentional the way that I approach relationships. And so for me at this time, I am not actively dating by choice, and not because I don't love men. Men, I love all of you. However, I just relocated. I have 2 young children that need to be settled. I have my business to care for, and I just want some time and space to see how I feel in this space before I commit to meeting somebody on a more intimate level than just business.
That's perfectly said. And for all those viewing and listening, what she said is talked about a little. I've talked about it a lot here recently, and you can't accept the role and reject the responsibility.
Mm.
Again, you can't accept the role and reject the responsibility in what she's saying. And again, it might be different. We all come from different backgrounds or might be in different seasons in life. But what she's saying is in her season, I used to see it on the little video game, the 2K. It used to be like, hey, are you rebuilding or are you contending? And that's similar aspects within dating and relationships, like the rebuilding. That's kind of like you said, like the fun girl, like, I'm just hanging out. I'm, you know, not in the place to do something serious. I'm more of just kind of, feel things out and enjoy life. But at a certain point in life, you transform and elevate yourself to a place of, all right, now I want to contend for championships. I want to build an empire. I want to build a legacy. The Bible says, leave an inheritance for my children's children. And a
Mhm.
lot of us, we just leave bills and strife for our children's children, and broken promises and generational curses for your children's children. And so look in the mirror and ask yourself, I always say, choose your heart. Dating is hard. That's one thing um, that is not talked about enough, I don't think. Dating is hard.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
being married is hard. Being single is hard. Divorce is hard. Widowship is hard. Life is hard. Choose your heart, right? So regardless of what season you are in life, that you just have to, again, focus on your assignment
That's
and
it.
find someone. I love what you said. I want to talk about a little bit what you said. You said find a partner, a man that brings you delivers you closer to God than where you were and elevates you both mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Um, and I kind of want to speak on that because I want to have you speak on that a little bit in depth because I think a lot of I think that was might have been missed because that's a deep saying. A lot of times we say, God is the head of household, and you have those cliche sayings, but do you really live by that? Um, so I encourage the audience to listen in as you continue to explain a little bit of that further, because I think that's just one of those things that, especially in marriage, that you just kind of like to death do us part, like God's first, like kind of like a checklist, right? Like, yeah, if I'm
Mm,
married, I got the dress, like just shut up and give me my ring, right? I got
that's
it.
it.
God's yep. So
On this honeymoon already.
right, yep,
On this
okay.
honeymoon
We're
already.
going to Greece. Like, be
Yeah.
quiet. Shut up, we're going to Greece.
Back in day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that like so many things, we have a tendency to go onto autopilot with things. And faith is no different. And I think too, when we look at, how many, just bear with me, audience, please, like how many people are offended by the word God, or they're offended by religion now, or they're, if you're seen as faithful, then it's like it comes with all this stuff. It's like, oh, you're anti-feminist, or you're anti-choice, and it's look, like faith is faith. Faith is a neutral body, much like money, actually. Like it's a neutral body. It's neither good nor bad. It's the intention behind it. And I think that, we've become quite complacent in the way that we practice our faith and the way that we actually practice care and the way that we practice love. Like these are all action items. Like love isn't just a saying and faith isn't just a thing. These are things that require action. They require commitment. They require diligence and dedication. Just like, if you even come to me as a strength and conditioning coach, you were like, yeah, like, my boxing coach told me that I need to lose 3 pounds and 4% body fat in 2 days. What do I need to do? What you have to be so honed in on doing the things that you need to do to get the result that you want. And I think when it comes to relationships and even life, I think that people have become quite scared of setting goals because they think that if they set a goal, they have to share it with the whole world. You don't. You have to share it with God and yourself. Like those are the two bodies that need to know the goal. And maybe your partner, if you're already married, I suggest sharing goals with your partner. Don't keep things from your partner. But there's this pressure to share every micro bit of our lives. And the challenge with that is that, like, yeah, you're going to fail at some things. Like you're going to set a goal of something and you are going to fail. And it's not really failure. It's feedback, right? It's feedback to say, okay, I tried this thing. This way didn't work. What's another way to do it? And when we look at the concept of like God being the top end of our relationships, our lives, our household, it's not because we're incapable of these things, but it's like it's a roadmap. People always say like marriage doesn't come with a manual, motherhood doesn't come with a manual. And it's like, yes, it does. It totally does. It's just to do what you choose to take from it, right? Like the teachings of God or the teachings of Jesus or Allah or Buddha or like whichever word is going to allow you to absorb this conversation. Like it is a manual for life. It's a manual for how to live. It's a manual for how to raise your children. It's a manual for how to love your spouse. The challenge is that we don't put it into action, or we have a lot of media and noise telling us that religion is bad, faith is bad. We shouldn't read the Bible. We shouldn't read the Quran. We shouldn't read what like blah, 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 blah. We shouldn't listen to this. We shouldn't listen to this. It's anti-feminist. There's all this noise and chatter. And the beautiful thing about noise and chatter is that you can decide how loud the volume is, right? And so if you, as a man, still hold on, some of these traditional values, which I think are beautiful. If you as a woman are longing for a man that holds those traditional values, it's going to be up to you to turn the volume on your face up and the noise on the media down. And that can be really, really difficult because it's everywhere. So you have to be dedicated, disciplined, and act with discernment as to what you allow, like what you ingest, not just through food, but like what are you ingesting all the time, every time you open Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is. And I'm not judging you. Like you're allowed to spend as much time doing whatever you want as you want. However, if you're feeling like your life isn't the life that you want, if your marriage isn't the marriage that you want, if your dating scene isn't the dating scene that you want, then you're the one that has to take like an inventory of that, right? And so for the men that are listening that are feeling like, I don't have money, so therefore I'm not a good man, or I can't buy my girl a Chanel bag. Like, if your girl wants a Chanel bag, she'll figure it out on her own. And if she's not that resourceful, then perhaps she's not the woman that you want as a wife or mother of your children, right? And I don't mean that in a mean way, but we've become quite disconnected from the premise of like God being the center of our household, of these teachings of like to provide, to protect, to lead, right, as a family. And we've become quite like, oh, well, I can't buy my girl this, I can't do this, I can't do this. And we end up in this cycle of looking for heaven where heaven doesn't exist, right? Like, heaven isn't in the material goods that we own. Heaven is the way that we conduct ourselves, the way that we carry ourselves, the way that we lead our family, the way that we give grace to others. And so when we're looking at the idea of God leading us so that we can lead better, I think that it's worth exploring that. I think it's worth the time for people to sit back and think like, am I really as faithful as I'd like to be? And that's a really key word, as I'd like to be. Because if you feel like it's forced, like if you're still going to church because your grandma said to every Sunday, you know what I mean? You're not really there for the right reasons, or you know that you're supposed to do good unto others, you know that you're supposed to lead your family, but you're not doing those things. Like, why don't you want to? Right. And for a lot of us, I think it's simply distraction, right? There's so many other things that are easier to feel good about. Discipline is hard, right? Like you said, choose your hard. It's hard to be overweight. It's hard to lose weight. It's hard to eat healthy. It's hard not to eat healthy. It's hard to smoke. It's hard not to smoke. Like, everything is hard in some way. However, if the hard is worth the reward, and so if the reward is being closer to God, having more inner peace, having more confidence, having deeper connections with people, greater intimacy with people, a feeling of lightness and ease, knowing that you're cared for and that you're loved by something that you can't even see, if that get you motivated to connect into that, then you're gonna have to really dig deep onto why that is. Why is it that you have such a problem with that idea? And it's not for me to tell you, right? Like, that's not for me to tell you. That's for you to discover on your own. And you certainly don't have to. You can carry on living your life exactly as you want to, and there's nothing wrong with it. However, if you find yourself feeling like, this is enough, this is what I really wanted, like I can't, I'm just going through these motions, then it's trying to stop and ask yourself, like, how connected am I to myself? How connected am I to God? And what am I doing to live by those virtues and values?
Again, very well said. What I have to say about that is, again, like you said, faith is there regardless, right? It's just one of those, money's there regardless. If I was, whether I don't care about materialistic things, I'm just gonna eat bologna sandwiches for the rest of my life. You still gotta you still gotta have money to buy the bread.
That's it.
If
That's
you want
it.
to have filet mignon every night at Ruth Chris, you still gotta pay for the dinner. So, God's there regardless of
Mhm.
if you believe it or not. So, again, choose your heart and
That's it.
choose your destiny as well. Choose the life. Basically, what she's saying is choose the life you want to live, and be non-judgment free from others. Do it for you, not for the approval or disapproval of others. And so, what are some main red flags that you see within your dating coaching?
Oh goodness, the list goes on. Sorry, I don't mean to like be like really dismal. Some of the red flags I would say is, if you're using social media, check in on who, say you're dating, okay, you're gonna go on a date. What I say to my clients that are in the dating sphere, so they're not in a relationship, they're exploring the opportunity of a relationship, is check them out on social media. See who they follow, see who follows them, see what kinds of things they post politically. You really want to know, who you're saying yes to before you actually say yes. And Red flag, and gentlemen, this isn't a judgment call, but maybe a chance for you to observe some of your behavior around like sexuality. But if a man follows a bunch of like bikini models and a bunch of these Instagram models and stuff like that, and that's a big red flag. The same with women too, right? If women are following a bunch of accounts of just these like, male influencers and male models that really pose no value, like no offense, that there's no value there. That's a big red flag, right? That's a real disconnection from intellect. It's a real disconnection from the sacredness of the human body. And again, I'm not sure you can put pictures of yourself with bikinis until you are blue in the face, if that's what you want to do. However, it's worth understanding why you're doing that. And so that's what I would say is, the first red flag is like, is this someone that is objectifying others? Really obviously, right? Like if you follow a bunch of bikini models, there's a reason for it. It's not because they're writing great content. No offense. So that's one. Second one is not following through on things. So if you say you're going to do something, then do it. It's that simple. If you say you're going to call after work, call after work, even if you're busy. Call in the car, call on your way to the next meeting. Make sure if you say you're going to do something that you do it, because nothing creates distrust quicker than inconsistency and lack of congruency. Right? So someone says they're a certain way. Oh yeah, I'm a man who has traditional values. I believe in, the provide, protect, lead model of masculinity. And then you are unable to plan dates. You cannot reply to a text message in a timely manner. Like, let's be honest, everyone has either their phone sitting on their wrist or sitting on a table, unless you're a judge or on a jury, and then communicate those things. If you're in the beginning phases of dating and you're getting to know someone, just say, hey, you know what? I've had a really slammed day today. I'll check in with you a little bit later on. It's not a big deal. All right. So that's a big one. The other one to do is be conscientious of how that person treats other people, right? Like just watch and observe how they are treating other people. If they are kind and gracious to everyone from, the gas station attendant to the server to the CEO, then you can see that that's going to be something that's congruent for them, right? It's going to be all across the board at all time. Another really big red flag is, this is particularly, I find, with women. Women, please don't take offense to this, is we often have this idea of who this dream man is that's coming into our lives. So we get someone who kind of meets, let's say there's 10 points that you have on your list of this ideal partner. And I hope that you all have a list. Those of you dating, I hope you have taken the time to create a list. And this doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, he has to be 6'7" and da. You can, it's your list. But it's more attributes, right? More attitudes and attributes about this individual. So let's say you have this list of 10. Now you meet someone and he's got 4 points. 4 points match on the list. First of all, that's a dark side. You can say no to that date. You're allowed to. The second thing though is don't go on the date with this man and try and turn him into those 10 points. Let people be who they are. Let people show you who they are so you can see exactly who you're dealing with. If you're always telling, and I'm not trying to pick on women, I do, but I find this more common with my female clients than my male clients. If you are always trying to tell a man what you like and how to do things, he's never going to show you who he is. He's only going to do the things that you're telling him to do. And then when you're not telling him what to do, he's going to revert back to his natural way of being, which is, there's nothing wrong with the way that this man is. It just isn't easy not about you. Let people, this goes for both men and women, let people show you who they are naturally, without any pressure, without any precepts, so that you can see who you're dealing with, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not that's somebody that you want to move forward.
Well, so I love you said that it's like playing Superman and Superwoman, right? Like, or
You're not God.
like build a big again playing God, or build a bear workshop, right? You can't build a woman, can't build a man.
No. And nor would you want to. Nor
Right.
would you want to. If you always got everything you wanted, you would never grow as a person. Right?
Like,
Relationships are meant to uplift you. They're meant to give you life, but they're also meant to challenge you. And and I don't mean in a hard way. I don't mean like everything is hard and you're always arguing, but they're meant to make you look at yourself and be like, well, how can I be a better person? How can I be a better human being in order to facilitate a better relationship? Do that if you're carefully curating everything that person does.
Exactly. And again, it's about focusing on your assignment within
Mhm.
each other and trusting the process. A lot of people just want, you have to be careful of the pitfalls of success, right? And what I mean by that is a lot of people just want the wedding that they see on Say Yes to the Dress. Like just,
That's it.
the 200,000 people, the Shrek courage, the long white dress with the silver garments, and you want 10 bridesmaids, and you have this big party, and the guy has the best man that's great, and everybody's got the nice tuxes on, and you fast forward to this honeymoon in Greece, all expenses paid with the unlimited drinks and unlimited food for 7 days. But everything in between that is what actually life is. It's not just those moments.
That's it.
And so, awesome. That's awesome. And so, again, like I said, this has been a great, great road inside Black Garden. And so, can you tell the audience any last minute tips, motivation for dating and relationships, and then also tell the audience where they can find you?
Yes, thank you so much. So, tip number one, I would say, if you're dating, get really, really clear on, how do you want to feel around this person? So when you're going on dates, that's a marker, right? Because looks can be very deceiving. A nice suit, a nice pair of shoes, whatever your thing is, like, clean white sneakers, like those we get really disillusioned, right? We're very visual people. Right. So pardon me, we take the visual and we take that as like the stock value. So it's really important for you to spend time thinking about, like, how do you want to feel around this person? Do you want to feel nervous? Do you want to feel anxious? Do you want to feel peaceful? Do you want to feel joyful? Do you want to feel, I don't know, youthful, innocent, like whatever that is? It's important that you understand what that is for yourself first. And that comes through like prayer, that comes through meditation, that comes through body work, right? So that you feel yourself in yourself. That feels a bit ridiculous. That's that you can sense how you feel around people, right? That's one of the first things I would say. The second thing is, like, is have that list. It's like a grocery store. Like if you're hungry, right? If you're dating, it means that you're longing to be with somebody, and that's a beautiful thing. But going grocery shopping when you're hungry and you don't have a list is a terrible idea. Right? You end up buying all kinds of Pop Tarts and like things that you're not supposed to be eating, and because you're not supposed to be eating it. So fill yourself up first. So through prayer, through meditation, through self-love, through gratitude, through dance, through sports, like whatever it is that's going to fill you up first. And then make a list so that you're not shopping on an empty stomach and taking all kinds of things that you're not supposed to be taking. Create that list of who is this person? What are their characteristics? What are their values? What are your values? I think that's the other thing too, is a lot of people actually don't know anymore what they value. Right. So take some time to get to know yourself so that you can have your sights set on a partner that's going to be a good match for you. In terms of if you're already in a relationship, do not forget that love is an action. It's an action. Love is an action that you have to act on every single day. So whatever it is that brought you into that relationship in the first place is going to be part of what carries you through so that you can celebrate your 15 years, your 20 years together, your 25 years together. Right. So don't forget to praise your partner. Don't forget to praise yourself. Keep an orderly home. Don't bring in outside bullshit into your relationship. And what do I mean by that? Keep your relationship contained. In this world of like oversharing and over everything, keep your relationship contained. If you're struggling with something, ask somebody whose relationship you admire, right? Or ask a counselor, ask a coach. Don't go to your girlfriend that also is having relationship troubles and then you just stew in the trouble over and over and over again. Pray for your partner regardless of what your faith is or your religion. You pray for them, you ask for gratitude, you ask for grace around them if you are having a difficult time. And at the end of the day, you stay focused on building rapport back with that person. You don't take it outside. Do not talk to your receptionist about it. Don't talk to your personal trainer about it. The more leaks you allow into your relationship, the more easily the relationship will crack. And if you are in a really difficult place in your life where you're feeling, whether you're in a relationship or you're single, is that you have an immense capability of being able to change a situation by changing your mind and by changing the way you think. So if you're dating and you're lacking out all the time, it's like, okay, well, what can I do differently for myself that is going to allow me to be more at ease and attract a partner that's going to create that ease with. If you're already in a relationship and things are really, really sour, it's like, how can I re-romanticize this situation? Like, what can I do to bring back the life into our love? And it might feel silly and it might feel ridiculous. And you might feel embarrassed by doing whatever it is that you've come to the conclusion of. But I can assure you that love is always worth it. And you are definitely worth it. And if you are desiring better love, if you're desiring better dating, then you're allowed to have all those desires and allow God to lead you in the correct course for yourself and your partner. And don't forget to have fun. It doesn't all have to be serious. It's allowed to be fun.
Awesome, awesome. And those are some great, great tips. Again, I hope you guys are tuning in and listening and viewing. I hope that you took, there's multiple things, but I hope that you take something away and again apply it. Application. Faith, like we talked about, a lot about God and faith. Faith without works is dead.
Mhm.
And so don't just say you want to change. Again, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
That's it.
Apply what's being taught, take it and apply it. And again, change that mindset to the creative domain of your own mind. Don't objectify your celebrities, and don't, it's even in the Bible, don't create false idols, right? Or false gods. Keep, take everything. I always say, take everything with a grain of salt. Yes, you're allowed to appreciate someone's expertise and skill set, but don't allow that to consume what your assignment is. Just like in school, when you're focused on your final exam, don't allow the football game at 7 o'clock that night, take away from you acing the test. So ace your own test.
That's right.
And so it's been a wonderful journey inside a Black Garden. Hope the thorns didn't prick you too much for those of you that joined us. And so, Kelly, can you tell the audience how they can find you?
Yeah, I will be very honest with you. Like I said before, I have a very love-hate relationship with social media. So you can find me right now on Instagram at Kelly Rattanee. And if something resonated with you or you have a question, or even if you have like a gripe of something that I said, go ahead and send me a message. That's totally fine. And that's the best place to find me right now. So yeah, I think that what you're doing is wonderful. I really appreciate having this opportunity to speak with you and your audience. So thank you so much.
And thank you again. This has been episode 12 of The Black Garden, releasing in September 2024. I again continue to encourage the audience to take something and resonate it. Again, leave a review. Post. Let us know. Tag the Create a Million podcast on Facebook. Follow us on Spotify, and then follow Kelly on Instagram as well at Kelly Rattanee. Let us know what you thought. And again, I hope you can continue to become the best version of yourself and to create the dominion of your own mind. Again, we're at our final destination inside Black Garden for today. But again, we'll see you on next time. It's been Dark Law and Kelly on episode 11. Hope everyone has a great evening. Thank you, Kelly, again for joining us inside.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Create Dominion podcast with your host, Dark Law. Be sure to follow and like on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and go ahead and follow our Facebook and Instagram pages as well. We hope that you took something and resonated with it, that you can apply it to your daily life to become the best version of yourself and decree the dominion of your mind. Remember, decree and declare and take back your rightful throne and your rightful place into the best version of yourself. Thank you.